right, here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Boom, and welcome to the Big Honker Podcast, brought to you by Dive Bomb Industries. I'm Jeff Stanfield with the world-famous Andy Shaver.
Why are you shouting?
Because I am in a festive good mood.
Oh, good.
It's almost Turkey Day, which is a fat boy's holiday.
It's your favorite holiday. And sitting across from us, Mr. Kile Jones. How are you, bud?
Great, man.
I'm glad we got to do this in person.
Yes.
It makes a lot, Skype it's a great tool, but there's a lot that's lost in translations.
Absolutely.
So
No, I'm happy to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
we're excited. So you're on like a whirlwind tour right now. You've been in Easton. You were in Easton 4 days ago.
Yep.
And now you're in North Texas, and now you're in West Texas.
And I was in New Mexico a few days before Eastern Maryland.
So if you went from New Mexico
To Lubbock.
to Lubbock to Easton,
Yes, sir.
and then you flew to St. Louis or wherever y'all flew to, and then you and Forrest flew down y'all flew down and hunted with Rustin for a couple of days.
Yep.
Then you're scumming with us for a couple of days.
Yep.
And then you're going to go hunt with the mighty midget Justin Hill for the next couple of days, right?
Yeah.
Have you met Justin in person?
No.
He's a pint-sized fella.
Okay.
He's a good man, though.
Now I get the reference that Forrest made about having him stand on something.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, if you're gonna be in an A-frame, like you need a milk crate for him.
God.
Camera
stand
adds
on.
20 pounds to you, but doesn't add 6 inches to you, so Justin's still short. But he's a good guy. So everybody wants to know, you're a world-class caller. You think I'm going to ask about Asher being a pain in the ass and Cody being a great guy, but that's not what I'm going to ask you. What I'm going to ask you is, what kind of gig is this? I mean, you get to fly around. You and Forrest are on a world tour or tour of the United States hunting all the time. You got one of the best gigs in the world.
Man, it's a blessing, really. Really, I helped out a little bit today with some calling and stuff like that.
Thank God.
I mean, really, anywhere. I mean, I try to pitch in when if needed or.
So when you call that pitching in is what you're doing by calling.
Just helping. Yeah.
How many titles have you won?
2 World Goose Calling titles and
And so
Junior
you're
World.
pitching in when you help with the guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm following the leader. I was following Stoner today.
Don't Stoner does not need his head swelled up anymore. He doesn't need that. He's going to reference that somewhere in the year.
Yeah, Kyle was following me. Yeah, that's what he's
exactly
that's what he's
gonna
gonna say. And
So-
there's the other guy right there,
Yep.
Oh yeah.
fresh to death. You can have a seat right there for us.
But like we're part of the media. We're part of the media and marketing team. So, I'm sitting there. Forrest is sitting there calling. I'm calling, taking photos. He's taking video, something like that. We really don't pull the trigger a lot, but we're just making sure that we're recording the hunt and capturing what you guys do, and over our products especially. So that's our goal.
Now, Forrest, you've joined us. We talked about your pint-sized ex-boss a little bit. Who you're going to go hang out with for a couple of days at the
Yes,
Leprechaun Castle.
Yep.
That's what's good about being a podcast. You can say whatever you want
This
to.
is quality. Oh my gosh.
Have I lied about anything yet?
No, I don't know you as a person that lies a whole lot.
I don't. I speak
It
exactly
is-
what's on my mind.
Straight up, to the point.
We walked in the door yesterday. He said, "Hey, man, I'm just an asshole."
Pretty much.
I am.
Pretty much.
I am.
But hey, you're a really, really enjoyable asshole.
Well, I appreciate that. Most assholes aren't thought enjoyable, so I try to be at least. So you used to guide out here.
Yes, sir.
You worked here for what, 2-3 years?
5.
I think
isn't that what we figured out?
I think I was basically 3 years full time, and then I've been coming down, visiting, helping out here and there, a couple weeks at a time.
You've got one of the best gigs in the country. You get to fly around in a plane that you get to fly by yourself. So nobody at Dive Bomb can be your boss because you're the only pilot on the staff, right?
Man, it doesn't quite swing that way, but yeah, when it comes down to the travel decisions, for sure, if it looks like a bad day, I'm definitely the one making the go no go kind of decisions.
But y'all fly everywhere, and y'all are like a team, just you two, and then so y'all are the A team for Dive Bomb, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And then Asher and Cade, would they be the B team guys, right?
Yeah, more like the JV.
Yeah, the JV. Freshman squad, maybe. Well, I mean, between y'all, how many calling titles have y'all got? How many do they have together between them? 0.
Bingo.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
How many years between them have they guided? 0.
Bingo.
Okay. Definitely JV versus varsity right here.
So, Kyle, how old were you your first world title that you won?
Well, I guess juniors when I was 16.
So you were juniors.
Yeah.
Now, how many of those did you win?
Just one.
You just won one.
Yep.
And then you've won 2. So after, how many juniors can you win? Can you only win 1 and then you're done, or is
No,
it like Worlds and you can do 3?
I only went there 1 year, but I mean, you can win if you compete at 13, 14, 15, 16. I know a kid who won 2 because he entered his first one when he was 15, and then in 16 he won a second.
Right.
So you're allowed to compete up till you're 16.
And then when did you win your first world title?
When I was 27.
27.
Yeah. Took me a while.
The kid that won at Dive Bomb just won the junior, didn't he?
Yeah. Alden Pugh is his name. His parents brought him from Virginia all the way to the dive bomb contest, and then he went to Easton, Maryland, and absolutely just kicked ass.
And how old is that kid?
He is 14.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, you've both been on that stage. How does that stage compare to like just a normal show? Like say Dive Bomb.
There's no other stage like it, honestly. And really, it's not that, it's just that much better of a contest. It's, in my opinion, it's the venue, and there's a lot of nostalgia there.
Mm-hmm.
Going there, I was really, really close with Tim Grounds. He was like a second dad to me. We were just very, very close. And the way that he spoke about it and talked about it, and the way that Hunter's spoken about it, and really, it's just kind of one of those things that's kind of known throughout the goose calling world, that the stage in that high school there in Easton, Maryland, has about the best acoustics you will ever find. And you could take even a mediocre goose call, and it sounds like it's made of pure crystal.
Yeah.
And it just feels
I've
magical.
never
It's
been there, but
wild.
I've seen it like on the live feed or whatever, and there's a certain there's a certain ring to it.
Yep.
on all the notes, and
Yep.
it makes your hair stand up. I'm sure when you're
It
there,
does.
and I'm sure when you're in it, it really is special.
Bingo. That reverb in that room when you're standing on that stage, and especially, the last time that I was in the finals for World Goose, they were still turning the lights all the way down inside, and then they had a bright spotlight on
Oh,
you.
wow.
And to feel that spotlight burning on you, and to hear those notes echoing, I've never. The only place I've ever felt anything similar to it's at World Duck, and
Really?
that's just the pressure that's on you, but the being able to just live in that moment there is something really, really special.
Now they don't do the spotlight anymore.
They had a couple lights on this year. It wasn't like the follow you direct kind
Right.
of,
Turn
melt
all
your
the
face
lights
off
down
kind
and-
of spotlight. But it was still, awesome, and there was definitely there's still all the same pressure. There's no doubt about that.
How'd you get hooked up with Tim?
Gosh, it goes way back. Basically, I started going to calling contests, and started out initially as a duck caller, but being in Colorado, we got plenty of geese. Front Range of Colorado, especially back when I was getting going, was really one of the biggest hot spots in the country for them. And just wanted to pick it up, and started entering these goose calling contests, at least at the junior level. I was going to all the duck calling contests. I was there anyway. So I'd just blow in a contest, and then Tim would inevitably be at 80% of them, because that's just kind of the guy he was. He traveled around and tried to help people and help the sport and all that kind of thing. And man, I got so much unsolicited advice from Tim. It was unreal. He's the kind of guy who'd come up to you, and as soon as a contest is over, I know Kyle's been here, he'll grab you by the meat of your ear and drag you up to his mouth, even if you're a foot and a half shorter than him.
Really?
And just talk to you. But he'd talk to you like your family, like, he didn't care what call you blew, didn't care about any of that stuff, and just wanted to help out and kind of get you going the right direction. So I got to know him a little bit that way, and then as things went on, the guy who I was blowing calls for unfortunately passed away, and with everything that Tim had done for me, he was the first phone call I made, and it really wasn't even just to, hey, can I blow your goose calls? It was, man, what do I do? How do I go about this? I could really talk to him, and felt comfortable opening up with him and asked him all life's hard questions. So we got to know each other, and he makes a heck of a goose call.
He does.
And especially that was right when the Triple Crown had come out. So that was kind of one of the big. It was the first molded gut system to ever come out that I'm aware of, and it was definitely one of the best contest goose calls out there at the time, and remains to be today. So it was just kind of a natural fit. The call worked real well for me, and we just started talking 3, 4, 5 times a week. We'd sit there and spend 45 minutes or an hour on the phone, and there wasn't really a whole lot to it. It was just one of those natural things that you kind of feel like God's put someone in front of you to help you along your way, and You know, it's not like we had to work hard at it. Just, and yeah, this is Tim.
Yeah.
Here he is. You know, you're just family.
It's a good relationship.
When he would give you would he give everybody advice, or or did he see something in you?
Everybody. I don't know. I mean, I think he saw drive,
right,
and he would help someone to the limits that they wanted to push themselves. So if you wanted to talk about goose calling at 3 a.m, if you had the heart to do it, man, he's right there to answer the phone and chat with you about it. Every now and then he'd even, just reach out and call and just check in to see if, someone been practicing. But you could definitely tell when people have drive and want to be better or not. And you always try and help them out. But to a certain point, it's not worth spinning your tires. And if there's someone that's not really genuinely into it, it's kind of tough to really invest. But Tim did his best to like I say, just kind of help the sport of contest calling as much as he could. And, he offered his help to anyone who would be interested in taking it.
He left a long legacy, that's for sure.
And what's crazy about Tim is like when he was because when was he giving you this advice? 2002, 2005. I mean, so this was before the era of like taking a video on your cell phone.
Oh yeah,
and being like, hey, what do I need to work on?
Yeah. The videos on your cell phone back then were basically what you could take on a toaster now.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, him to be able to convey to you, like, I'm sure you're, like, telling him about your routine and then, like, what do I need to work on?
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, it was the classic, put the cell phone down for 90 seconds, blow a goose call, and come back to it. And it's like, man, here in the garage, can you take it outside? Can I hear it again? It's like, Tim, it's 12 degrees outside. Well, I just can't hear that. Just do this one part for me then. So I'd step outside and blow in snow or something and blow a goose call for him in the middle of the night.
What about your neighbors loved you?
Oh, they were great. My parents were thrilled too. They were really supportive of me. I joke about it. They were really supportive, but man, there were definitely times where you could tell they were tired of hearing a duck and a goose call.
Could you go in the closet and close the door and do it?
Yeah.
So Kyle, what do you blow?
I use a grounds.
Grounds. How'd you meet Tim and them?
I met Tim in 2008. Same day I met Forrest. Was at the World Goose Calling Contest in Easton, Maryland. So Forrest was older than I was, so he was competing in the seniors, the live stuff, and then I was competing in the juniors. That was the first time I ever met Tim, and I've got a picture with Tim. I'm holding my goose trophy, and he had his arm around me, just because he was happy to see a kid winning a goose calling contest.
I tell you how old I am. I remember his first group of kids that come through here, and that would have been Brian and Matt Sullivan, and that would have been in the early and mid '90s, and it was the same stories. Yeah,
I mean. One of my mentors was mentored by Tim, and that was Kelly Powers, and he explained Tim is a trunk of a tree, and all of everybody that he influenced is a branch of that tree, and there's so many branches, and it's pretty cool to think about. I mean, a couple of years ago, like Forrest said, I was getting help by Tim. I was blowing a competitor's call, and I've got a photo of him. He sits there and he pokes you right in the chest. He comes up about that close to you, and he pokes you right in the chest, and he tells you, this is what you need to work on, this is what you need to work on, this is what you need to work on if you want to win.
Get rid of those check geese, bub.
Yep,
the check geese, where you're running out of air.
Yes.
And hitting it. Right.
Yep. You get rid of those check geese, you'll start winning.
Who's going to be the next Tim Grounds?
We've talked.
Forrest
there's always someone that steps in.
He was at the front of the innovation. That's like saying who's going to be the next Steve Jobs. He created a new thing.
Yeah.
It really depends on what you mean by that, because he was the all-star. He did everything, and not that there weren't other guys. There's a lot of other big names that are still out and still trying to do a lot of stuff.
They all faded away. He never faded away, though.
Never.
I hate to. I'm not going to bash on anybody, but there's a lot of guys that 15 years ago was the big guy in the call business for 3 or 4 years ago. He's gone.
Yep.
Before that, same way, he's gone. Tim was always right there with them. He might not always been the top dog that year, but he was 1 or 2.
Yep.
And they would fall off, and he'd be 1 again. Someone else would come up, and they'd fall away.
Yeah.
And they fade away, and he never faded away, ever.
No. And even in the contest world, he stopped winning contests consistently about the time that Hunter really started to take the reins, and Hunter took the contest world by storm. So, I mean, as far as just a guy who's just out there competing, Hunter could absolutely do that. And I think Hunter could really step into his dad's shoes very well in any of these aspects. But in the bigger picture of things, as far as being a good steward of the sport, not only just contest calling, but waterfowling in general, that's not something that I think any one person can fill Tim's shoes. I think that takes a collective group of guys who are well known, are not well known. There's a lot of people that need to bear that load, that need to step up, that need to represent our sport well and try to help things grow instead of just sitting here, yipping and barking at each other like we're the biggest dog in the playground there. And it's just kind of silly to me how petty things have become when Tim would go up to someone who's blowing his biggest competitor's call and give him genuine advice and try to help him regardless of the business side of things and politics, any of that.
There's no reason why the calling contest shouldn't be bigger than they are, because there's more duck and goose callers now than there has been ever. Now we talk about the hunter numbers are down, but the quality of hunters are better now than there ever has been. I mean, you're on a tour of the United States, and every place you go, everybody blows a call. Everybody knows how to hunt. We all hunt basically the same way. There's not many secrets left, but there's a bunch of good callers out there, from these kids that are 10 years old picking up duck calls to people 50 years old that are still blowing calls competitively. There's a lot of good callers. You would think we would have more competitions and more people, but yet it seems to be the opposite. It don't seem to be near the contest that there used to be.
Yeah, that's the truth, and I think a lot of the quality of hunters and all that you're talking about is because of accessibility and knowledge.
Yes,
right.
You look at what YouTube has done, and it's, I don't know. I mean, I can't find a negative about it personally. I do think the broken in guts have kind of changed things a little bit. You don't have to work as hard to break in a set of guts over the period of 2 or 3 years to, really kind of earn your stripes and get your way into the contest calling world. But, man, you'd think with this knowledge that people would really just dive into it head first. And you can hear that there's, like you say, very high-quality callers and hunters out there. But I just don't understand why people aren't feeling as competitive.
And the call business, good Lord.
And
it's amazing how many calls they sell. Because when I first got into this, you could buy a Nightingale Magnum Clucker. You could buy Olt, and Tim had his half-breed come out, and that was the first. And there was the Big River Flute, and then Ron Winnicky had his calls that come out for a little bit. I mean, there's been other companies, but now there are a ton of good call companies, and they put a lot of product out, and they sell a lot of product. What amazes me is the number of guys that own 30 and 40 calls.
Yes,
that's just
they buy a call every year.
Or
crazy.
More.
Yeah,
yes.
Or more than that. Yeah.
I mean, we were at Squad Fest, and we almost all of our call booths sold 50+ calls.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yes,
because there wasn't that many people there. I mean, it was busy, but it was not. Yeah. I mean, because when they were telling me, we're bringing 200 calls with us, I thought, poof.
Yeah.
And then how many did you sell? 85. I'm like, God Almighty.
Oh. Some guys sold out.
Some guys sold out.
They didn't even bring enough.
And the funny thing is the kid who's 14 or 12 years old. And there's the rich kid whose mom and dad are going to buy him a call. And then there's the kid that was with his parents who worked all summer to save up money to pay $250 or $150 for a call.
Yep.
And there's a lot of that out there.
Yep. And he blew every single call on the shelf.
Yes.
Yeah, to see which one fit him.
Yeah.
But going back to what you said, you would figure with YouTube and the accessibility of resources and knowledge that's on YouTube, and you would figure there would be more people doing this because it's so easy. You've got the best callers that are out there putting up videos on YouTube telling you how to put together a routine.
Yeah.
And then you're seeing the opposite effect.
I wonder if it isn't kind of working negatively,
Right.
if because guys aren't out there putting in the time and really spending the time to figure things out, like say breaking in guts, doing all this stuff, getting it together, if there's no sense of pride with it.
Right.
If
There's
it's
no
just
sense
one of
of-
those things like, hey, how do you change a carburetor? Or how do you
Right.
do that? Well, I forget, carburetors are kind of a thing of the past anymore.
Yeah,
but,
anybody under 20 is like, what the hell's a carburetor?
Exactly. But, I wonder if that doesn't have a lot to do with it. Just people really not taking pride in anything. And, but I don't know. Maybe
There's a lot of that going on.
Yeah, maybe it's the participation trophy era coming
Right.
up to
Boy, we got a lot of
too.
that. Let's circle around from the call-in deal because we know you guys are the experts at this. Let's talk about your job. You got a cool job. So you fly in an airplane. You two guys have y'all had any moments that you're scared in the airplane yet? Have you had a scary moment since you've been flying for Dive Bomb?
My scary moment is typically like my first time riding in a plane that size was with Forrest. And I was like, well, he survived in Alaska. I think we'll be all right. But if we get in a sketchy situation, I just go to sleep.
I don't know how you do that. That's the hardest part to sleep.
Honestly, it's the flying that I've done for dive bomb, being in the lower 48. I don't want to say it's easy, because flying.
Well, it
through
is
the winter,
compared to Alaska.
a lot of it does tend to be. I've flown through some snowstorms, and there was one time Cody and I were flying back from a hunt in Tennessee, and we were trying to actually make it out here. We had New Year's Eve plans to hang out with Justin over there for the New Year's Eve party, and getting through Arkansas, we were down, 600, 700 feet. Plenty high to be legal and safe, but it was real low overcast, and it was prime snow goose season. So we're flying. You hear about Cade being amongst them. We were amongst those snow geese like people don't usually like to be, especially in an airplane.
Ooh, shit. Now, one of those and you're toast.
Good luck finding just one of those, but yes.
Right. But, I mean, that's all it takes is one.
It would, in the right spot, yeah, absolutely.
A buddy of ours flies a private jet, and they had a bird strike, and they were lucky to be able to land.
Yeah.
And
It was a whole flock of, just shitbirds right as they were taking off,
Yep.
which I guess is the most vulnerable time.
Yep.
And it just feathers and shit in the cockpit, and
Oh
they
my
made a
gosh.
big circle back around. And
took out one engine. They were lucky.
That's
They were
unreal.
very fortunate.
Yeah.
he said he had a junior pilot that was kind of, just take us up. He said, you do exactly what I say when I say it,
Right.
and we're going to be fine.
Yep.
But I don't know that I could stay cool under the pressure like that. I think
Do that or die.
Yeah,
Well-
yeah, pretty much. I mean, I've been through a lot worse stuff in Alaska. I had one this year that, genuinely, it was the first time in my life where I've known that I was going to die.
Oh,
And
no
it was
kidding.
It was not very cool.
How long does that last for? That I'm going to die moment.
In all reality, from the time that we got, but long story short, it was windy, to say the least. It was probably blowing 50 sustained, gusting to 80. And I'm in the middle of the mountains, and where two valleys converge, basically caught two big rotor clouds where it's basically an eddy, like an eddy in a river, but it's an eddy in the air coming from two different valleys. Just happened to hit me at the right time, and they were probably 80-mile-an-hour gusts. And everything that wasn't welded to the floor of the airplane was on the ceiling, including myself, my passengers. Had a guy in the back seat who got a real bad concussion. He came down so hard on the seat that he bent the aluminum frame with his head.
Whoa.
We had all the mud and water that was from our boots was
And
up on the
shit.
skylight. Yeah, basically, man, it was bad. But for that split second, it felt like, genuinely, I can remember every minute, or every second of that, like it was a minute. And in all reality, it was probably about 4 seconds. But just what happened, the way it hit the airplane, it felt like it folded the wing up. And it took me a second to kind of look over there and see, holy cow, we still got that. And I actually had the guy in the right seat say, hey, look behind you, tell me, do we still have a tail? And okay, we got that. Cool. We're all right. We'll chug around, and we were trying to get out of there before the weather got any worse. And man, it hit us just at the wrong time. So I had taken one group out because the pond that we had flown into and had to get them out of at that point was way too small on any normal day to take off with a full load of people. I'm talking like a 650-foot pond that we had to get out of there with, 6 people and fishing gear and lots of gas and all that stuff. So I'd taken the first group, not a big deal, dropped them off. This was with the second group that this happened, and we went and landed. We're in the middle of the tundra, so I parked the airplane, I pulled it up on the upwind side of the lake next to the only tree I could find, tied it up, and we spent 12 hours lying in the tundra waiting for the winds to drop below 50 sustained. They had gusts up over 85 in that valley, and it was a heck of a deal. So my definition of scary in an airplane is a lot different than it used to be.
It's how tough them planes are is what's amazing.
What? Now, when was it? This was recently?
Yeah, this was June.
Oh, my gosh.
Yep.
So
And you've got a kid and everything else. I'm sure that flashes through your
Bingo.
mind. That's
I
tough.
remember getting we hadn't heard from you in the group text for 15, 16, 17 hours. But we knew you were up there, so I was like, oh, he's just traveling remote. And you're like, you texted us. That was the first time I've heard the whole story, because you texted us and was like, well, that was the first time I've actually had to land the plane to check it to make sure I still had everything intact.
Yep.
So
I made a mechanic from Anchorage fly out to inspect the airplane because I was not getting back in that after
Before you took
That's
back off.
Before, yeah.
Very smart.
Yep.
What's that they say? There's no such thing as an old and bold pilot.
That's right.
Yep.
That's
So
right.
so Kyle, just do you know how to land the plane in case you have to?
nope,
Don't you think you should learn?
probably.
That's something I think you should learn, to land it, not to take it off. But by God, if he passed out? What are you gonna do?
Hey, man.
Learn how to land that bastard. What you got to do? It's gonna come down somewhere.
Yeah.
You might as well learn how to steer it to where it's supposed to go.
Well, now I know what we're gonna be doing in Texas since it's flat here.
Do some touch and goes.
Yeah.
That's right.
What's the weirdest place that you've landed that? A plane. You don't have to say the dive bomb plane, but a plane. What's the most odd place that you're like, oh, we'll set it down right there?
River Sandbar.
You know, that's really not all that odd. The sandbars are super straightforward and easy. I think the weirdest one is probably float plane in Alaska and landing on about a creek, maybe, I don't know, maybe as wide as this room, but it's real steep and it's real deep and there's a lot of water. So water's probably doing 12, 13 knots. I mean, it's booking, and it's fast enough and deep enough that the water's boiling, and you can, get some of these boils that come up a foot. So dropping moose hunters off there and trying to taxi into an eddy where you got 12 knots on one float as you're trying to taxi in, and the other float's got, -3 knots going the other way trying to spin you and throw you down river. It's pretty darn wild doing that.
The first time I flew on a float plane in Alaska to go land, is the guy buzzed. I thought he was fixing to land. He went down real low, and I was up front with him. I go, "Are you landing here?" He said, "Just going to fly, make sure there's no logs or trees in this part of the river." And I thought, son of a bitch, it's not a very controlled environment here.
That's for real, man. I've had to dodge bears on 3 or 4 occasions, and actually twice I've had to go around. Once I had to go around on landing. The other time I had to abort a takeoff because of a whale. Literally surfacing right where I was going to touch down, and then the other one surfaced as I was trying to take off, so close that I had to spray the I don't know what you'd call it, we'll call it the blowhole mist off of the underside of the wing.
The
And
snot.
Man, I'm telling you, man, that stunk so bad.
Oh, really?
It was wild.
I've never thought about that smelling, but I guess it would
It
make
doesn't
sense.
smell good.
Saltwater boogers.
Bingo. That's exactly it.
I guess so. I've never thought about
Have
that.
you ever smelt some whale mist?
Nope.
Kyle, you just ain't bringing much to this show now.
Oh,
Forrest
man.
is.
Hey, he's a great storyteller. I promise you that.
Y'all get a lot of time together, probably
Yep.
more than y'all do with your spouses.
Lots.
So
Lots more.
Where are we going this year now? You're going here, you're going to Justin's. You've been to Dry Creek, Stanfield, and you've been to Ranger Creek. What's next?
Y'all can drag these down
Next.
a little bit if it's like raising up on you.
Next leg is World Duck next weekend. Fly back home for a few days. Fly back out to Forest Place. Hunt Colorado, Wyoming, Nebraska, Wyoming. Then we go to California. Have a little bit of a break. He comes up to Washington. We hunt in Washington for a few days. Then we go, pending the water situation in Arkansas, in the timber.
Are they dry there right now?
Yes, yes. Yeah. From what I understand, it is. And then we go from there. Wow, I'm not getting into January now.
I was just gonna say, honestly,
Holy cow.
we're that takes us almost to Christmas right there.
Yep.
So I mean, we got
So you're gonna be busy the next month.
I think
Next 3.
Yep.
What's your bucket list, Kyle, to do? What's your bucket list place to hunt?
To be honest with you, I was talking to the guy I was deer hunting with the other day. Bow hunt a Yukon moose. I think that would be the coolest thing ever.
So nothing waterfowl related.
Waterfowl's cool. Yeah, I love.
You've done enough of that though.
Yeah, I mean, I love waterfowl hunting, and I know what gets my heart pumping with waterfowl. I like seeing birds react to a call. If it's not Yukon moose hunting, it's probably just turkey hunting.
So a Yukon, we're talking the big Alaskan moose, the big
yeah.
fucker.
Yep.
Those are mean.
Hey man, that's fine.
And you want to do it with a bow.
I want to do it with a bow.
At least you don't want to go shoot a polar bear with a bow
No, I'm good.
or a grizzly bear.
Polar bear, I know that if I see one, it's probably hunting me.
We had a
you
guy
know.
here the other day that just had a buddy of his that went somewhere. I didn't even know you could still hunt them right now.
Yep.
He went
So
somewhere.
what's
to
the
hunt one.
difference in? So that's a Yukon moose. What's the difference?
Yep.
I mean,
so
just
now look up like Shiras.
Yeah,
Shiras?
Shiras are small.
Yes.
Shiras, Roosevelt, and
how do you
the
spell
Yukon,
it?
right?
SHI.
Oh, there it is, right there.
No, not Roosevelt's elk. It's
Yep.
Shiras, the Canadian moose, and the Alaskan
Oh,
moose.
okay. Yeah, that is way smaller.
Yes.
That's what I think of whenever I think of just this picture right here is kind of what I
I mean, that's
envision.
that top one there. That's a That's a big Shiras moose.
Now, those are what they have in Colorado and in the United States.
Montana,
Yes.
Idaho, stuff like that.
And then you get into the Canadian moose, and they're bigger than that, and then the Alaskan is the biggest of all.
Yes.
So we're doing your job for us. You probably see those all the time in
Yep.
Alaska.
It's a good hookup.
I've gotten to carry a whole bunch of those things back to the airplane.
They're good eating,
How
too.
much of that meat
Yes.
have you eaten?
Not enough.
Not enough. Is
It's
it that
so
good?
Yeah,
Moose is real good.
Caribou's about the only thing I'd rather have than that, but moose
Caribou?
is awesome. Yeah,
Never had
is
caribou.
Spectacular. You need it badly.
Well, you should bring one next time.
Instead of a whitetail.
You bring a whitetail deer to us. I mean, good Lord. Why don't you just bring us a wild hog? Shit.
So those are way bigger, and you want to shoot that with a bow and arrow.
Yes.
What's your bucket
Jesus
list?
Christ. No.
That's definitely not as adventurous as that, but man, I mean, the one that keeps getting at me, I would really like to shoot black ducks on really, really small water.
Now, you've hunted like the smallest water imaginable in
Yep.
Colorado. Like, I don't think that creek, you could jump across. It's not as wide as this table, was it?
I literally pissed across it to say I did it. Like, it's wild how tiny that was. I thought the guy was joking when he said
We're
gonna
talking about
set
the
it.
creek again, right? Okay,
Yep.
so make sure.
Yeah, that was pretty wild. But black ducks are kind of my unicorn, and I've killed a couple of them, but something's always gone wrong. I killed a really, really, really nice one in western Saskatchewan of all places, and had it down here with Justin. Man, I had a couple hybrids from the year before, my wife's first pintail, a Studley canvasback, and that black duck, all waiting to go to the taxidermist. And I told Justin, man, hang on to him until I get back from Alaska. And between the time I left and the time I got back, that freezer went bad, and all those, along with John David had a black blue goose in there, or Ross blue, I mean, and all sorts of really cool stuff got lost in that freezer. But that was a bummer.
I killed a black duck when I was 12 years old. The only one I've ever
Out here?
killed. Yeah, I killed it in Windthorst, Texas.
Wow.
We killed 5 or 6 that year. It was the year of the hard freeze, 83.
Yeah.
I killed one. That was it. And we saw them a couple of times. It was, but
Now, that was back when Texas, and especially this part and a little bit further east, was, I mean, serious mallard country, right?
we killed a lot of mallards back then. Lots. I mean, it was not unusual. I can tell you a story about my dad because the statute of limitations are over and he's dead, so he can't do nothing to him. But we hunted on Winchester Lake in 1978 to 1983. 84, 85. But in 1983, I've got a picture in my office in there of my dad, and they got 57 mallard ducks on the tailgate of a pickup.
Damn.
From the trees. Because Winchester back then used to have an actual tree. There was a row of trees that were in the water, and the water was behind it 100 yards.
Okay.
And it was cattail reeds. And that lake stayed full I mean, it would be dry 1 out of 10 years.
Right.
And it was deeper, too. But that back in that north, on a north wind and
Right.
stuff back there, them ducks would get holes in there. And we had a hole in there. One year there was 2 holes about half the size of this room. And we had live decoys because the little grebes and shit would pop up, and that we didn't put decoys out. And them ducks would come in there just by the hundreds.
Wow.
And but him and another guy killed 57 mallard drakes one afternoon.
Jeez.
And but back then there weren't that many people shooting that many birds.
Right.
But we killed a lot of ducks off of Lake Winchester in the early 80s.
Man.
It was a whole different world then. But we didn't have the geese here then. It was mostly ducks.
Yeah. When did the geese start showing up? Was that like 90s kind of
83,
thing?
84.
Okay.
We had a hard freeze, and they planted a bunch of peanuts, and that's when they started coming in here.
Gotcha.
And every year it just started. By 1990, it was really rolling.
Wow.
When I first started hunting out here, the geese hunting would have been like 92. And there was probably 500,000 geese in the peanuts, and there was another 250,000 up here in the wheat country. Right here at the lodge, we would have 50 to 100,000 geese fly over every day.
Oh my gosh, I believe it. I mean, just talking to Justin, I've heard a little bit about the history out here a lot, and it just seems like one of the most intriguing things in the world. And to hear about a hard freeze and 1 year of planting peanuts being what
Yep.
started all that.
Changed it. They all come out of Colorado, they thought. But back then, there wasn't a lot of pressure on the birds. I mean, back then, I'd run a group of 4, and we would run 2, 3 groups a day.
Yep.
If I had 10, 12 hunters, that was a pretty busy day for us.
Yeah.
Now it's a group. But it was just a whole different world back then. But there was a whole bunch of geese that were along the river out here. And then there was a whole lot of geese that stayed up on the spike box.
Right.
And up on the Livingston, and we had all that. And I was the only person hunting the wheat hardly. There wasn't hardly anybody else ever hunted the wheat.
Wow.
And there was just as many geese up there as there was the peanuts. We'd hunt the peanuts for 2 or 3 days, and we'd go hunt the wheat for 2 or 3 days.
And then back then it was all, it was primarily lessers, right? And you'd get the
Yes.
occasional speckleback.
We didn't kill a lot of specks back then, but we killed a lot of graders.
Yeah.
If you hunted this wheat country, you killed a lot of graders. We don't have the graders no more. But right through here, it was the same as you see the graders in outside of Denver and stuff. I
Yep.
mean, big, groups of 12 and 15, 8 to 12, 15 pound, not 15, but 8 to 12 pound birds. But we had those here, a lot of them, and they just disappeared.
Yeah.
I think they're just getting. I think number one, we haven't seen a winter like we have in a long time, and two, I mean, they just have no reason to leave the city parks anymore.
No,
Well,
they're
yeah.
adaptive as hell.
They are, and it's amazing to look at things. Between the drought,
Yeah.
gosh,
2011.
I was just gonna say, I can't believe it's been 10 years now.
That's
but
crazy.
that I remember that was the first year I came. Was the first year of the drought.
It
Oh,
changed.
really?
It
Check
changed
this
our
out.
whole deal.
Yep, it was. It's wild to see, and even the difference between then and now, just the percentage of Canada's, and it seemed to me, at least in the years that I was guiding and down here all the time to really have a finger on the pulse, that the Canadas show up, but they
Yes.
don't stay.
Right.
They'd come down. I remember the years I was here, it seemed to be like the end of November, beginning of December, they were here, and then they'd pop back north. And I was kind of wondering where the heck they'd go and why they'd do it, and it just didn't make any sense. I got a picture of a spec blue hybrid sitting in a field over the old airport field there.
Oh, yeah.
And Hunter Pickett killed that goose up in Kansas like a week after that.
Oh, really?
Got pictures of the same goose up there. They came down and just
And went
hopped
back
right
up to
back
Kansas.
up.
We used to have sustained winters. We used to get a cold front every 7 days, and that made a big difference. And that you don't have that now. We have the speckle
Snow up
bellies.
north.
It's crazy, and there was snow up north, but it was just a different deal. But the ducks and geese are adaptive, and they stay in cities. There's a neighborhood in Wichita Falls that a guy feeds mallards in his front yard. I mean, in a neighborhood, right by where Rustin lives at.
Wow.
And every evening, year round, about 45 minutes before dark, these mallards come right in, land in this right in the neighborhood, and the guy sitting on his front porch and throws corn out there to them. They'll feed all over his front yard, get fly and go back to the lakes. We're talking 300, 400, 500 mallards in just a neighborhood. Well, there's 300 or 400, 500 mallards that we're not hunting no more.
Yeah.
That'll be 1,000 before long. And his neighbors hate that. They don't like it. I'd love that. That would be
Duck
badass.
shit all over the place.
Absolutely.
That would be cool as shit. But the neighbors are like, them damn ducks loud and shit and everywhere. But you can, and I've seen video. Rustin sent me video of them, and they're just walking. They land and walk in the yard. They feed and they walk
yeah.
and feed, and they'll fly back around and just land all over that guy's yard.
It's crazy how they know where they're safe.
Yep.
Like, if you can go to a city park and you can drive all around them and they stay there. But if you were to go to like Winchester, one of the Roost Lakes out here, and drive around it, they'd bust up and they'd be a county over.
Oh yeah, well, and it's even a time of year thing too. I've stayed until after season, before they extended the
Yeah.
season before to take pictures, and you give those birds 5-6 days of not getting shot at anywhere, and they get real comfortable.
Yeah, they do. They know. And these ducks now around Midwestern, the college there, those neighborhoods have got hen mallards in all the yards having babies now. And they'll see babies walking across with the hen. They get big enough, then they're going to go back to that guy's yard and eat his corn.
Wow.
But it's just they are such an adaptive animal. And I think that's one reason. You don't see nothing but mallards that way. You don't see widgeons do it. You don't see pintails much. I'm sure somewhere it's got that. But a mallard and a Canada goose are the most adaptive birds we have.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, it's even with the speckle bellies, you're talking about watching them, go sit on the Winchester. That's a dry lake bed
Yeah.
right now because they've been going and doing it for thousands of years.
Yep.
It's going to be the
There's
big
nothing out
stage
there.
place this year.
Yeah.
And they just sit there
Yeah.
for no reason.
Yep.
It's funny. You can tell the new birds because they circle it.
Yep.
They're like, there's supposed to be something here. I don't know what it is,
Yep.
but there's supposed to be something here. And then they circle and they go to Estes. But it's always interesting because you can always tell when there's new birds because they're like, where'd it go this year?
Yep.
Like, why is there not water here?
Kyle, have you hunted out here before, or is this your first time out here?
I've hunted with Rustin before.
But you haven't hunted in this area. You've hunted up towards Wichita Falls.
Yep.
It's funny. I grew up in Wichita Falls. There was no hunting around Wichita Falls at all.
Wow.
None. There was hardly any geese around there. I mean, we killed some geese, but not very many.
Yeah.
You had to come out here to shoot geese. And now holds a lot of birds over there.
So walk me through, how do they do the champion of champions? So is it anybody that has a world title
Yes.
can blow in that?
Yeah, anybody that's won a World Goose Calling Championship
Can blow in it.
can blow.
I
How many
thought-
people blew in it?
4.
For whatever reason, I thought you had to be retired, like had to have 3 to do champion of champions.
No,
it's
like
anybody.
Wade Walling, he's won one, and he's retired because he won Champion of Champions the next year. Kelly Powers, same way.
So if you, so you're done.
Yeah.
done.
Well, like if I would have won,
That was it.
That was it. With my 2, I would have been.
So you couldn't go for your 3rd world title.
Nope.
Champion of champions, and that's it.
That's it.
So Shanahan can't blow nothing else no more.
He's done. Yep. Well, with World Goose, anyways.
So he can't blow a goose contest nowhere.
He can do live.
He can do like Squad Fest. He can
Right.
do that, because it's an open.
But at
goose.
Easton, he can't blow anymore.
Why do
That
they
is correct.
limit you? You would figure why do they phase you out?
Man, I've wondered this a lot because it's like, man, Hunter got out of it when he was 20 years
Yeah.
old.
Makes no sense.
Robbie Iverson, 21
Right.
years old. Thankfully they were out because I was able to get a world championship. But it's one of those things where, man, these guys are in their prime. That'd be like retiring any NFL player that's putting up numbers
Right.
week after week after week and telling them, hey, man, Derrick Henry,
Right.
you need to retire.
Yep,
Yeah.
Tell Dale Earnhardt he can drive in one race every 5 years.
Yeah.
Right. Or you can't drive
Yep.
in Talladega or whatever.
They're hurting
You
their
can
own
drive in
sport.
everything else, but you can't do this big one.
They're hurting their own sport.
I think so.
I mean, if you're that good,
Yeah.
is there anybody you're scared to blow in front of?
No.
That's what I'm saying. So you're not scared.
Yep.
So anybody else at y'all's level is not scared either. They want to compete against that.
Oh yeah,
know?
I want to go. I want to go against Robbie. I want to go against Hunter.
That's what I mean. If you're that good,
Yeah.
you're not scared. You want to go against. So they should open it up to everybody.
Yep. Well, look at the amount of people that came to Squad Fest to listen to Hunter.
Right.
They've never heard Hunter Grounds live in a contest before. All they've heard is the 2007 World Goose Calling
Right.
Championship. That's on YouTube. That's viewed over 1 million times. They wanted to hear him live, and they got to do that, and I think that, and to be able to, if you were able to hear that in Easton, I think that's like, people are going to come.
Yeah.
People are going to come.
What's crazy, it was like a rock concert when Hunter came up there because everybody did this number
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
with their phone.
Yep.
Yep.
It was insane. And then Hunter would get off and they'd put their phone away.
Yep.
But it was legitimately like being at a rock concert and seeing
Yeah.
the main act come up on stage.
The only thing I wish Easton would change, I wish they did a different time of year when it's not hunting season.
Yep.
Because we're working already by that time, which they're not going to change that for us. It's been that way forever. But I would. It's kind of like the World Ducks too.
Yep.
I wish it was in
Next
August.
weekend.
Yep.
So
Maybe not in Arkansas.
I was
in
going to say,
August.
I don't really care to be in Arkansas.
I've been to St. Louis, Missouri in June one time, and I sweat my balls off.
Frankly, I don't care to do that again.
Yeah.
either.
Now we're doing it in
You see,
July.
Yeah, exactly.
That was bad, piss poor timing on that deal. That was the hottest I've ever been. That was Africa hot. It was horrible.
I'm not going to disagree with you.
It was miserable.
I don't think I saw you guys sit down other than to do the calling contest.
I was just going to say that was the worst part for me, was just sitting there doing the MC stuff the whole time because, I mean, outside, didn't get to go inside, and it was just awful hot.
Well, I sat outside the whole time, and it was miserable setting outside.
Yeah, exactly.
Would they ever let y'all blow in that?
That would be a bad move.
we got together because that was the original plan.
Was y'all were going to compete in it?
Asher and Cody were kind of wanting us to get into it. Now, we looked at it. We talked about it one day. We're like, man, that would be a bad look. We're sitting here
Right.
handpicking the judges. We're
Yeah.
we're handpicking scorekeepers and all that stuff. And it's like, man, we want it to be a well-run contest without any doubts or questions at all. We need to lay it down, especially this first year. We need to knock it out of the park.
Yeah.
So
So y'all opted out.
yes. Yeah.
That's got to be tough though, because
Oh, yeah.
you see a lot of these guys and you're like,
That's the
I just-
contest.
Yeah,
You-
that's-
you want to beat Hunter. You want to
Right,
beat Robbie. You want to beat
exactly.
Trevor. You want to beat Kyle. I mean, and that's the thing.
and it's not often that everybody comes together
It's
to do this
super
anymore.
rare. Super rare.
Well, that was the first one coming off COVID too. So
Right.
I haven't competed against Robbie in almost two years. I haven't competed against Hunter in almost 2 years. Same with Trevor, over 2 years with him. It's like, man, I want to be up there, but at the same time, it's like, man, we got to do this.
Well, it
We
was
got to set out.
Yeah.
It was a great time. We got to get off here. Your mom, and then we got dinner ready.
They'll be all right.
Your mom is just giving me the 6-minute dinner's off the hook.
It's 6:02. We'll
I
be
know.
fine. We can go another 15 minutes.
No,
We'll
we
be fine.
can't. No, we can do this after dinner, or we have to do it now.
Okay. All right.
If
Well,
she runs the kitchen, I'm not telling her. Andy said we can go 15 more minutes. I said that ain't going to work.
There we go.
There you
Perfect.
No, she said go ahead being a smart ass.
I was just gonna say
That
I
was
think
not
that-
a
I
go
think That's
ahead.
like a bless your heart kind of thing.
Yeah.
right there.
Bingo. Bless your heart. That's her word she says all the time. If a woman tells you from the South, bless your heart, she's saying, bitch, shut up.
Hide.
Yes.
Well, listen, there's a reason that this lodge is full right now. It's because of this podcast. So
I'm not saying that we got customers outside and it's dinner time. We got to go. I appreciate it very much. Thank you guys for being on here with us. I'm overriding Andy because I'm going to get overridden on this by Michelle. Anyways, it's been a great visit. I'm glad you guys. I hope y'all come back next year. I hope we get the A team and not the JV again.
Me too, buddy. Thanks for having us.
Thanks
you.
for having us, man.
Bye.
thank you. Go check out all of our great sponsors. Check out Dive Bomb Industry. You can follow Forrest and Kyle and see everything that they're doing. Check out Shin Gear Waiter, State Plains Meats, Pacific Call, Boss Shot Shells, Dirty Duck Coffee, Lucky Duck, Looking Glass Duck Club Podcast, Gundog Outdoors, Goose Creek Retrievers, Bangtail Whiskey, Eyesight Drones, and Stanfield Hunting Outfitters.